So Frank Warren's Queensberry Promotions YouTube channel have finally dropped the full fight between Daniel Dubois and heavyweight king Oleksandr Usyk, and I am so glad that I have had the opportunity now to watch this fight in this format. Basically, someone has pretty much filmed it from the ring apron, as close as you can possibly get with no commentary, but what you can hear are the instructions being given to each fighter from their respective corners. And I think that watching this is a really, really good way for us to reassess the fight, because my personal perception has actually changed on quite a few things after watching this back, and there's obviously been a lot of negative backlash around the whole Daniel Dubois quitting scenario. So let's get into it and let's have a watch. Yeah, so you can see that Daniel Dubois is getting caught here, but he is doing what we all felt that he needed to do, which is try his hardest to take the centre of the ring. And whatever your thoughts are on Daniel Dubois, which, by the way, I can vouch for, he's an absolute legend, but regardless, his ring IQ is a lot higher than people give him credit for. He's been in the boxing gym since he was a child, and he fully knows that by trying to take the centre of the ring and force Usyk back, he's going to get clipped in doing so. That's the gamble you take, and I've not got a problem with those tactics. But there's a moment towards the end of that round that I think would have really zapped a lot of Daniel Dubois' confidence, and that is when he finally gets Usyk where he wants him, which is in the corner, and by the Ukrainian standards, pretty stationary. And in that sequence, Dubois throws, 5-6 punches, and barring a jab at the start, none of them land. Usyk is able to maneuver his way out of the corner, and he's the one that actually lands a stabbing blow to the stomach of Daniel Dubois. And as I say, that could lower your confidence because you finally got your man where you want him, but you've lost the exchange, and Daniel Dubois is not used to that. When Daniel Dubois backs his man up, you can guarantee 99% of the time they are going to taste some heavy leather. And we were speaking to Lennox before the fight, and we asked him how he would have fought Oleksandr Usyk, and he pretty much said the exact same thing. He said that you need to get him into the corner. His exact words to me were, you can run, but you can't hide. And as much as I agree with that, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Dereck Chisora, they've all tried to do that exact same tactic, and they've all struggled so much to get him there. See, here's where I have to go against so many pundits and former fighters who I'm sure have a million times more credibility than myself to speak on this matter, but I saw an interview of Dereck Chisora with The Sun, and he said something along the lines of, you could tell that Daniel Dubois was beaten on the ring walk, and that he felt that Daniel Dubois quit in round 1, and I really struggle to see how he's come to that conclusion, because to say that he quit in round 1 is just fucking nonsense, in my opinion. If you watch this and you determine that this man who is in with a pound for pound great and is trying to take centre ring and then responding to try and regain it each time he's backed up has already quit, then I'm sorry. I don't care how many fights you've had. I don't think you know boxing. And I love Del Boy, by the way, but the reason I'm mentioning him is he's the only pundit that I've actually seen say that he felt that Daniel Dubois was beaten before he got in the ring and that he quit in round 1. And I was just really interested to see why he thought that, because that is not how I saw things at all. I think that what you're watching here is a man that's trying his hardest but ultimately is being outclassed. A little bit like Dereck Chisora was when he fought Oleksandr Usyk. I know there was a 115-113 scorecard in there, but I didn't give Dereck Chisora more than 2 rounds maybe of that fight. See, Dubois getting nailed by Usyk off the back foot when Dubois tries to rush him, him, but at the same time, he's still trying to push through in the hope that Usyk will fade down the stretch. So this is from the third round, and this is where I did get it wrong on the night. I originally said that I felt that Daniel Dubois had won the round, but upon watching it back, Daniel Dubois definitely didn't win the round. I had it 3-1 going into the fifth when Usyk stopped him, and actually watching it back, it was 4-0 going into the fifth. But what I will say is, I think it's really, really unfair when you watch this round to see how much the performance of Daniel Dubois was criticised prior to the stoppage, which we will get on to talk about. I mean, I'd love you guys to let me know in the comment section, what do you think Daniel Dubois could have done differently? Thrown more punches? Yeah, I suppose. I mean, there's a lot more chance you're going to miss a lot more punches. There's a lot more chance you're going to tire quicker, and there's a lot more chance you're going to be countered when throwing those punches. Or maybe you believe he should have tried to go on the back foot and outbox Oleksandr Usyk. I mean, it didn't work for Tyson Fury. I know that we associate Tyson Fury with being a little bit more aggressive since he linked up with Sugar Hill, but let's not get it wrong. Tyson Fury is a back foot slick boxer. And please, don't tell me, well, he should have just cut off the ring better, because that's so much easier said than done. There is really no remedy to stop a man who's got better feet than you, a better boxing brain than you, more experience than you, and who's now racking up the rounds, meaning that you're the one that has to take the risks, and those risks can play into this man's hands. I mean, look at that, right? The right intentions from Dubois, doing exactly what we all felt that he needed to do, yet Usyk just makes it look easy in the way that he maneuvers himself out. Now that's the end of the fourth, and despite a decent little body shot in there from Dubois, which I don't think we're going to have a debate over whether it was low or not, I feel like this is where Usyk had really started to go through the gears. I think that Usyk picked it up from the third round onwards. I actually noted on the stream that his hand speed got a lot quicker from that round onwards, and I think that he started to maybe not smell a finish, but understand that Daniel Dubois is going to rush in a minute and get caught by something. And actually, if I carry on boxing like this, I might just have my dinner served on a plate to me. Right, so we're getting to the knockdown that actually finished the fight, but despite me looking at things from a Daniel Dubois aspect in an attempt to try and dispel this narrative that's going on that Daniel Dubois didn't try in the fight and Daniel Dubois didn't fight with ambition, I do just have to look at this and admit, how good is Oleksandr Usyk, man? You've got a young, hungry world champion weighing the best part of 250 pounds charging at you, and not only do you keep your cool, you pick your shots, you don't deviate from the game plan, and instead of fighting fire with fire, you just pour a whole load of water all over that fire. And I do want to speak about Usyk in a minute and how my opinion on what lies ahead for him has now changed off the back of this fight, but coming back to the man who was beaten before he even got in the ring in Daniel Dubois, You've literally just seen him dropped while trying to bulldoze Oleksandr Usyk into the corner. Exactly what we all wanted him to do. And the lesson that we can learn from this is that sometimes you can go into a fight with ideal preparation, the best possible game plan. You can try your hardest to execute that game plan in the way that everyone felt you should, and you can still get it wrong because the man in front of you is just too good, and that is boxing for you. And if you're in there with someone who isn't just a little bit better than you but a lot better than you, then effectively you've only really got a puncher's chance, haven't you? And a puncher's chance in the heavyweight division is different to other weight divisions, but at the end of the day it is a roll of the dice. And the narrative that Daniel Dubois did not roll that dice and did not take that gamble is just a load of bollocks. That 8 seconds from Daniel Dubois getting up, carrying on and getting put back down shows you just how elite Oleksandr Usyk is. The shot selection, the timing, but most importantly, that instinctive pullback to Dubois' right hand counter that allowed him the opening to land the left that we all know now as Ivan. And Ivan, my friends, is a thing of beauty. And this is calculated, people. Usyk didn't see that shot come in and then dodge it. Usyk read the shot, maybe even before Daniel Dubois knew he was going to throw that shot, and by doing so he created the opening to land a peach of a shot that ended the fight. But the controversy starts here. Could Daniel Dubois have beaten the count? Maybe. I'm not sure. I've never been dropped. I've never been knocked out or anything like that. But I have had my chin checked. And I remember being in a fight, getting caught with a shot, and immediately just seeing white, only being able to see white dots in my eyes and in my ears. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear any crowd noise or anything like that. It actually just sounded like a fire alarm or the old school bell ringing from when you were younger, something like that. So I do actually think there's every chance that although you can see Daniel Dubois looking at the referee, he might not have even heard his count. But even if that's not the case, could Daniel Dubois have got up, regrouped and worked his way back into the fight? No. Not in my opinion, no. Would Usyk have swiftly finished him off? Yes, I think he would have. So before we get into Oleksandr Usyk, let's just address Daniel Dubois and address the whole quitting situation here. Now, if you think he quit, that's fine. That's your opinion. I don't think he quit. I think he was well beaten in that fight. But if the likes of Tony Bellew, Dereck Chisora, Spencer Oliver, any ex-fighter for that matter, thinks that Daniel Dubois quit, then that's fine. They know a lot more about world level boxing than I do. But to say that Dubois quit before he entered the ring or during round 1 is just utter nonsense. I mean, I remember Fury against Chazora 2, when Tyson Fury obviously never dropped Dereck Chisora or anything like that, but he put a prolonged beatdown on Dereck Chisora. One that long-term wise can be a lot worse than just getting knocked out, because you put out your misery quicker when you get knocked out, whereas when you sustain these beatings, they can have long-lasting effects on you. In that fight, right, Dereck Chisora, in my opinion, quit. Right? But do I think that Dereck Chisora went into that fight with Tyson Fury with a defeated mentality? And do I think that he quit in round 1? No. Of course I don't think that. Do I think that Del Boy tried his hardest for a good 7-8 rounds of that fight? Yes, 100%. I do think that. But towards the end of that fight, you didn't really go out on your shield. And I remember the corner interaction with Don Charles at the end of that fight.
I want you to finish on your feet. Yeah? Yes, come out of there, yeah? Okay. It's finished.
There you go. Don says, I want you to finish this fight on your feet. And Del Boy says, okay, cool. And that can be loosely translated to, I quit. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I've got to point it out because the quote from Chazora was, I've had 49 fights and when have you ever seen me quit? Exactly. Well, we have. And you know what? no one holds it against you because you're a legend of British boxing. At least my era and my lifetime of watching boxing anyway. You've dug deep in fights, you've swung fights and turned them on their head, you've come back from adversity and you have battled on in fights. You have been great entertainment. So let's have it right. I'm a Chazora fan, but that doesn't mean that I can't call bullshit on something when I smell it. And comparing yourself to Dubois isn't really the smartest thing to do, in my opinion, because I get it, Del Boy's been in there with just about everyone, but Daniel Dubois has actually become a world champion, and Daniel Dubois has actually beaten fighters that at the time of facing them were ranked inside the top 10, and that's not actually something that Dereck Chisora has ever done. He's put up valiant efforts, by the way. Vitaly Klitschko robbed against Hellenius, but he's never beat anyone, in my opinion, as good as an Anthony Joshua or as good as a Filip Hrgovic. But listen, fair play to Del Boy. He's entitled to his opinion. I'm just saying I don't agree with it. I don't agree that Daniel Dubois quit in the fight, and I definitely don't agree that Daniel Dubois quit in round 1 of the fight. But let's move on to Oleksandr Usyk. What next for Oleksandr Usyk? Well, firstly, I just want to hold my hands up and say that I think I was wrong. Because I've noted multiple times that I do feel like Oleksandr Usyk's feet are slowing down. However, I did kind of lean towards the fact that they're actually naturally slowing down rather than he is choosing to slow them down and sit down on his punches a little bit more than he did when he first came up to heavyweight. Because the foot speed of Oleksandr Usyk in that first fight with Anthony Joshua is not the same as the foot speed now. However, now I'm more leaning towards the fact that he's doing what he's doing on purpose and he understands that he has the power to get these bigger guys out of there. Usyk's style hasn't really changed, but it's evolved. Whereas I think at the time I was comparing it with maybe a Floyd Mayweather situation where I feel that his style changed distinctively because his body forced him to. And whether or not you feel that his feet have slowed down a little bit, I think most of us would agree that he still probably has the fastest feet in the heavyweight division. He definitely has the best feet in the heavyweight division. You can maybe argue like a Moses Atoma or someone like that, but then that argument can be very quickly quashed when you look at the level of opposition that he's been able to face. And as I say, it's not just the speed of foot, it's the movement and the intelligence and the judgment of when to move his feet that makes Oleksandr Usyk so exceptional. And another thing is, on watching that fight back, Usyk takes so many shots on the gloves, which means they're not point scoring shots, and this is probably why I misjudged round 3 and initially on the night gave it to Daniel Dubois. I'm watching it through the broadcast, right, and I'm looking at it, and obviously when Usyk gets hit by these bigger guys, you do see his body and sometimes his head jolt back, but actually when you see this ringside footage, he's taking so many of these on the gloves that they're not point scoring shots. Now Usyk after the fight stated that he still feels young and that he has more left in him. So, in order, here are the fights that I would like to see next for Oleksandr Usyk. But just quickly, you're probably wondering, how did Oleksandr Usyk get this good? And the answer's pretty obvious, isn't it? He's obviously been taking Supreme supplements. Supreme CBD is something that I absolutely live and die by. I take a couple of drops of the CBD oil under my tongue before I go to bed at night. It helps give me a really, really good sleep. And it also helps with like fatigue and stuff like that from training. And when I wake up in the morning, I actually take a couple of capsules of the Vegan's Lion's Mane, which for me helps a lot with concentration. So in the morning when I get my work done, take a few of these and all of a sudden 2 hours work turns into 1 hour's work like that. So you can check out Supreme CBD. They're linked in the description. The good news is I can get you 40% off. All you've got to do is use the code in the description, which is JJPod40, and you will get 40% off of your order. The first fight I would like to see And it's a little bit bad because someone deserves it more, but we'll get on to speaking about them. I'd like to see Usyk against Caballero, due to the fact that he is, without a doubt, the best body puncher in the heavyweight division for me. He has a good chin, he showed really good powers of recovery, but what I don't know yet about Caballero is how he fares against someone that's able to set a pace from the beginning like Oleksandr Usyk does. Obviously, I would pick Usyk in that fight, but I still think it'd be a really, really interesting one. Now, I would love to see Usyk take on Joseph Parker, and Joseph Parker deserves the fight. And when we speak about heavyweights that do have quick feet, do have quick hands, Joseph Parker fits that mold. And even though he's put on, 30 odd pounds since the Anthony Joshua fight, I still think that he's quick enough to give Usyk a lot of problems. But does he have that killer instinct that you're gonna need against Oleksandr Usyk? I'm not quite sure. But the word on the grapevine is that maybe the interest in this fight isn't there just yet, and therefore Oleksandr Usyk will vacate his WBO title and Joseph Parker will fight for that. And we all know who he's going to fight for that. In my opinion, if Atoma comes through Dillian Whyte and he comes through unscathed, we're going to see Joseph Parker against Moses Atoma for the WBO world title, with the winner going on to face Oleksandr Usyk. Now, I'd personally love to see Tyson Fury fight again, but the fight for me next isn't the Oleksandr Usyk trilogy for him. I'd rather see him go in with Anthony Joshua, and even barring that, I would love to see how Tyson Fury fares against some of the contenders. I know he spoke about this not really being his era, and his era was more Anthony Joshua and David Price and all them lot and whatever, but I'd love to see Tyson Fury against even a Daniel Dubois or an Ajit Caballero, any of these guys that are knocking about at the minute. However, saying that, out of AJ, Parker, Caballero, potentially Moses Atoma, we don't quite know yet, Tyson Fury is the man that I give the best chance of being able to pull off a win over Oleksandr Usyk. It doesn't mean I would make him a favourite in that fight. I wouldn't make him a favourite. I would expect Oleksandr Usyk to come through that fight, but I still think he'd have the best chance. But due to all of the factors, including timings and other fights that need to take place, the fight that I think is a clearer footpath, and the fight that I would personally love to see next, is Oleksandr Usyk against Ajit Caballero. That one would be so interesting, but unfortunately, I think it would be more interesting for the hardcore boxing fans. I think they could put it on a Riyadh season card, headlining, and it would do good numbers if pay-per-view is still a thing there, but I do think that is more a trade fight for the hardcore fans. Realistically, I think we all know what we're going to see next. I think that we will see Tyson Fury fight Oleksandr Usyk for a third time, and then if Oleksandr Usyk was to come through that fight, even if Tyson Fury was to come through that fight, maybe we will then see that man go in against the winner of Joseph Parker against Moses Atoma. But there's so many intangibles here. What if Dillian Whyte rocks up to the party and beats Moses Atoma? What if Tyson Fury beat Oleksandr Usyk? Or what if Joseph Parker won against Moses Atoma in that fight? We just don't know yet. And that's why Caballero, for me, is the outstanding option. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who do you want to see Oleksandr Usyk in there with next, if he is to carry on? And also, please let me know. I can't be the only one that doesn't feel like Daniel Dubois quit in this fight. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and let me know what you want to see next off of the channel. I will see you all in the next one.